Hi, my name is Arpit J. Soni. I have a little over 7 years of experience working as a front-end engineer. Um, so the main agenda of making this video is that I personally was, kind of uh, extremely curious as to how exactly, you know, the use state and use effect in React, how do they work? Where exactly um, are they being stored, and what is the structure, right? That was always a question when we were using class based components. Things seemed pretty straightforward, but once functional components were introduced, um, that's when I think the entire hook philosophy came into the picture. And I've always wondered, like, okay, how are these, being stored, right? So, the agenda of making this video is that today we'll be seeing how exactly they are stored in the nodes. Um, I will not be spending too much time on other things, right? I will just be showing in the tree how it's stored. Um, Before that, like, I've just created a very short slide over here. So the target audience is, seniors and staff engineers, right? Although it's not a hard restriction, um, I think engineers of any years of experience, even the entry level engineers are welcome to say it, right? But senior and above level folks would be able to like uh, connect many things, right? Uh, I've told you the agenda. Now, the prerequisites for people, you know, who are watching this, you've got to have good experience with JavaScript and React. You should have decent data structures knowledge, that is stacks, queues, linked list. Um, Although how async tasks, or let's say async code works in JavaScript is not required per se, but it would be very useful if you know this. This actually, in this video, I will not be covering how it gets tied, but uh, yeah, I mean, under the hood, this is very important. Also, a note, um, I am not into making, courses or tutorials, right? Like, that's not what I actively do. I'm just making this one video so that people out there who have been having this question that how exactly is the state and effect being stored, right? uh, this video answers that one precise particular question. um, I think I'll come back to the other slides later on. Now let's move to the core agenda part without wasting any time. So actually, I'm recording this video after a year of me writing this code. So what I've done is it's a pretty straightforward, um, I would say, and very small app per se, if you want to call it app, or I would say code. So index HTML consists of extremely bare metals. Uh, as you know, React development and React DOM development, this is like what is used to represent the objects, right? Uh, JavaScript objects. So we will not be focusing on this. we will be focusing on this particular file so that we know how exactly it works. And as you can see here, this is nice. So I have added this console log over here. It took me, I think, roughly around 4 to 5 hours to figure out where exactly, if I, you know, where do I have to add this log so that it makes sense. Let's move on to the JavaScript part. It's a pretty straightforward app, which is nothing but a counter. So as you see, so let me just like kind of compress this. So you've got two counters. You've got one hook that's called as use document title. I've created another use custom hook called as use custom hook first. By the way, I was experimenting, right? Um, Although I will just be covering only about how the objects are stored. Um, the sequence of execution and where exactly are the states of the hooks are stored, I think I'll just brush over it, but I won't be covering the sequence types like why, etc. Right? So I've created this hook that is custom counter hook. Um, so yeah, in all the code that you see here, it's nothing but I've just taken the name and given different names so that we are able to identify that which use effect, which components use effect, and which effect basically is getting triggered, right? uh, so this is like a pretty yeah, straightforward thing. Now let's come over here. um, as you see, this is a counter. We've got two counters and we've got a customized counter as well. So I'll just show you the customized counter because I think you would require. I made a mistake over here that yeah, okay. So oh no, I didn't make a mistake. I'm sorry for that. Um, yeah, basically, as you can see, what we're doing here is we are maintaining the state, and in component 2 we are updating the states value right over here. Okay, so this is what I wanted to highlight. Okay. mm, yeah, now this is the main part. Here you see the log final fiber node. Now let's just expand this. By the way, here you'll see the logs. This is how the your React is, the sequence of execution of the code is happening over here, right? So use effect once is nothing but on, basically component did mount, and depending on the condition it renders this, and on every render this particular hook gets render like run, right? So this is pretty self-explanatory. Again, I will not be going in details about this. This is pretty basic React stuff. What we'll be doing is, now here I click on this fiber node, and the first thing you see here is there's something called as child. So we click on this first. Please focus on this, the element type app, right? So now this corresponds to basically this particular function that you see over here. And what do we have as its child? Counter. So if I come here, I see the element type that is counter. Now okay, so in React, the states that you see, for example here, counter, its value is being stored in a property over here on the counter as memoized state. Okay, and within this memoized state you see this represents your value. the state value. Okay, now um, let's come here. All your useEffect hooks are here in update queue. Property called as update queue has all your useEffects. Okay, now as you see here, counter one useEffect on condition callback. Okay, this is a linked list structure. So if I click on next, use document title useEffect on mount call on condition on every render. Okay, then you've got on mount callback, right, on every re-render. By the way, here is a catch that this thing gets, it's a recursive thing, so it endlessly, like, I can expand this, but it goes on like this. So your use effect that you see over here is being stored in a property called as update queue. Now, just so that we are all on the same page, let me just show the same. You can see the naming here. Okay, it's the same, right, for counter. And since you see here, we are using use document title. Let's go to use document title, and you'll see the same names that is like there, right? This is the reason like why I've written the code like this. Usually, it's just so that, like, I'm visiting this after a year, so even I'm able to see as to what exactly is happening, right? We are able to easily make out like what is being stored where. So that's the reason why like I've given such naming convention and I follow that. Now let's do one thing. Let's go and see how exactly the counter 2 looks, right? I'm sorry. So this will have, now here is the thing. The child of counter 1 that you see over here, this is the first child. Okay, it's sibling. So basically all these are siblings, so we have to drill down now on the siblings part, right? So we come here, sibling, you see element type button. Now this, its sibling is going to be exactly counter 2 component. Okay, now here, as I told you, the states are stored in a property called as useState. Okay, and its value is being represented over here. Now here is the catch. In component 2, I am importing use customized counter hook, right? I'm calling this hook over here. Now this hook in turn has a state. It has its own state, right? So that particular state is captured here at the level of the counter 2 component itself. Okay, so you'll see two states over here. Now let's do one thing. I'll just increment the counter of the customized counter hook. I've made the value to be 4. Let's come down. Here again, I'm not explaining, this is pretty straightforward React. Experienced React individuals, engineers know what is happening here and why it's happening. So I will not be explaining that. Let's move on, and I come here, child, and then I have to go to sibling again. Now please focus here on the memoized state, right? You see the value is 0, but here the memoized state value is 4. Like I said, the state of the hook is being attached basically here, right, to the component, counter to component basically. Now let's do one thing. Um, yeah, also, yeah, sorry. I think I just wanted to see. Now let's see the update queue, right? So now you see here again, it'll show the same thing. So the use customized counter hooks use effect on mount is called. So the hooks use effects would be called over here, and here you see the counter tools use effect, right? So the basically the summary of the video is that your code, right? Basically the states are living in a property that's called as memo state, right? Your memo state, and whatever custom hook you called, even that's being stored over here, and all your use effect is being stored in the property called as update queue. Okay. Um, yeah. So this pretty much concludes the main agenda of making this video. Um, I know there are many other topics as well, such as how does context work. If you see the code over here, I did experiment with that as well, right? So here you see. So we will not be covering topics like context, use ref. There are many other topics like React memo, um, etc. But I think there are many resources out there which cover those topics in great detail. Um, this was solely so that we could see the bare metals of how exactly these work, right? Now, um, now this, although the video, I mean, the main topic has been covered. Um, we are, I mean, the front-end engineering role as such, usually like people think that if you know HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and um, how and React as well. If you know these four things, there's this false impression that you become an front-end engineer. Um, in very good product companies, right, like Google, Microsoft, Airbnb, Meta, etc. Right? There are many other such good companies. As and when you start building your front-end products, um, you know, and you're climbing the engineering growth ladder, you realize that you've been working on too many abstractions, and even in backend, it's the case, right? Like, um, so if you see a proper front-end engineer must know, you know, needs to have a good understanding of computer networks, right? Um, also how so this particular diagram like covers, it's a very good indication as to how much of abstraction is there, right? So as you see, you've got physical layer. So this is like a subset of OSI model, right? um, Physical layer, data link layers are related to the connection and converting the bits into packets, etc. You've got the network layer, which takes care of your handshake, three-way handshake, deciding on which protocols, right? You've got TCP, UDP, um, and TLS over here indicates, transport layer security for ensuring, encryption and other stuff. So basically, we are working, we are So this entire thing is being, by the way, these things are written in C++, this entire TCP IP suite, etc. Companies like Cisco and Cisco is like pretty much, I think it's Cisco only which is actively, managing this. Um, um, and so the application layer is like wherein you see your apps, right? Like you've got your Safari, you've got Chrome, Visual Studio Code. So your browser is also an app over here, right? Now within browsers written in C++, right? It's a massive, it's, yeah, I would say it's an incredible product, right? And it has JS engine within it. And this is where your file, so whatever we write, the JavaScript, we are abstracted from all this, right? And as and when you start growing as an engineer, it becomes important that you are aware of how exactly the things are working under the hood, right? Although in most cases, in most scenarios, it's not required, but if you want to be a good engineer, I think you've got to know how exactly this work. Also, not only this, as I've highlighted over here also, that you need data structures, some level of understanding of how cryptography works. Threads is something that's, I mean, front-end engineers do not deal with threading languages, but I think it's very important that you know what exactly they are also, right? Um, because mm, yeah, I think that becomes out of the, yeah, outside the scope. So I would not like to discuss more on threads, but it's an extremely mm, important concept, that's for sure. Okay. Um, so why I'm showing this is I just want to let you know that writing JavaScript is not just the thing that you're sitting on layers of abstraction. On that layer of abstraction is React. React is another abstraction on, uh, you know, it's a library written in JavaScript. So that's another layer of abstraction. So unless you know how exactly things work, I think you won't be able to do a justice. Um, and debugging becomes problematic because you do not have the right mental model. Now, I will be sharing over here. This is relate. So, JavaScript has few very quirky topics like closures, right? How this keyword works. Now, these topics are extremely tricky to understand. There's this very smart individual. His name is Dmitry Shoshnikov. I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He wrote a bunch of articles on these complex topics way back in 2010. I would say these are literally a gold mine if you have patience and can go through these topics. I've been through them multiple times over the years. I've actually I came across his articles in the year 2017, so I've been referring them since then. Right? It's a it's heavy on the it's on the heavier side, right? You need time and patience so that you'll be able to absorb the information that has been given over here. Um, right. I'll just probably like show you also. Yeah, this is so the first link that you see over here is where you land up on his articles. By the way, he has courses on building, compilers, and yeah, you can see building a transpilers from scratch. Mm, yeah, this is pretty interesting. This is a very nice course that he has, right? Even this. So yeah, if you come over here, you see a section that's called as ECMA 262-3 in detail, and here is where you've got to you must and should refer from topics 1 to 6, although I would say to go through everything, but 1 to 6 are the most important ones if you want to understand all the nuances of JavaScript, right? Language per se, right? Um, I've referred them over here, right? Now, um, yeah, like I've mentioned, he wrote these articles way back in 2010. Also, yeah, few concepts in this particular article are language agnostic. So basically, these can some of them are applicable in few other languages as well. Closures is I would request to focus on closures more. There's some amount of not so some amount of parlance in Python. Okay, so mm, it's not exactly the same implementation, but the concept underlying concept is the same. The philosophy is the same. Implementation is different, right? Um, Also, there are a few very general computer science topics that is there in this particular article. Those of you who have done computer science engineering, you will come across few terms that you would have read in your college, but it's interesting how everything ties back again, right? Yeah, another great resource is Kyle Simpson, his courses and books. There's no denying, there's no doubt that even that's a wealth of knowledge. Um, by the way, most of you know that I mean these days, so it's pretty common, right? How event loops work. There's this extremely nice talk by Jake Archibald, right, which he has given it in Singapore, right? Please refer this. This is I think even this is one such video that you've got to watch. You watch multiple times. Every time you watch it, you learn something new. It's packed like that, right? Um, yeah. Now coming to the last part, there is a bonus section over here. There's another gold mine of course on Python. I know this is not related to front-end engineering. I know this is not related to JavaScript, but those of you who are looking to enter into full stack or backend role, or someone, uh, if you are a student who's watching this, this is a one-stop shop for Python. Please remember, this is an extremely big course. Not just big, it's of extremely high quality in terms of information, in terms of knowledge, and it requires a lot of patience to go through it, right? So it covers two, as you can see, part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. All the topics are covered in depth. These four act like references. These are not meant to be taken by people who want to get started immediately and kind of have to build something, right? There are people with those use cases, but if you're one of those individuals who wants to know, if you have decided that you want to use a language day in day out, and that happens to be Python, please refer this. um, these tutorials are not easy. They require time, patience. Also, again, like I said, even Fred covers few concepts that are very common in computer science. Okay, the general computer science topics are covered over here. Again, he has also like ensured that he abstracts certain things out, because else the course become extremely big. You can see over here it's 46 hours, for close to 37 hours, 22 hours, and 36 hours. So the course would have extended more. Um, so basically, the point that I'm trying to drive home is that um, you know you. By the way, if you read Shoshnikov's articles, if you read them like twice or thrice, you'll be surprised there are many overlapping principles and covered over here as well, right? So if you are a person who's first learning Python and you're coming across this resource, you are in good hands. And then if you jump back to JavaScript and if you refer Dmitry Shoshnikov, you'll see that few concepts have already been covered over here. So uh, that's a very interesting thing, right? Mm, Again, this video's perspective is to um, you know kind of demystify things and show you the bare bones and make you aware of how exactly things work. That's the main agenda, right? um, Learning something, learning topics, right? Learning a particular library or a framework is, these days it's easy because there's a lot of content out there, high quality content. um, you can subscribe to any of the courses and easily learn that. But there are very few uh, resources out there that cover topics in depth, which ensures that you kind of are on a, you become a much better engineer, right? Especially now in term, since AI has gained a lot of traction, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of things. You'll be surprised when you go through either these courses or this article that you know the how complex these things were in the past, how much of abstractions has, and as you even like come with now JavaScript has also matured, so I think you need not think too much about this keyword. But there was a time wherein this ensured that you were these concepts are not that straightforward, they were pretty complex. And yeah, basically like we work on abstractions and complexities, so always be I think thankful to other engineers, right? Yeah. Okay. um I'll just end this video now. I hope you guys have a great day. um and yeah, see you.